My dear students, today we are going to learn the second chapter of grammar, auxiliaries and models. First of all, we are going to study auxiliary verbs. Auxiliary verbs, those verbs which help other verbs to form their tense, mood or voice. An auxiliary verb is a helping verb because it helps the principal verb. Here is a complete list of auxiliary verbs. These verbs are also called anomalous. They are anomalous in the sense that they are the only verb that can make question forms, can combine with not in the negative, can serve to make question tags, or can stand for a whole verbal group in addition to statements. The auxiliaries shall, will, can, may, must and ought are termed defective verbs because some parts are wanting in them. They cannot be used in all moods and tenses. Students should be noted down that some of the verbs given above can also be used alone as full verbs or principal verbs. If the auxiliary verb stands alone in a sentence, it takes the position of the principal verb. The form of the following verbs can be used as main verbs: to be, to have, to do, to need, and to dare. There are some examples. Please go through these examples. It is really very important to learn the correct use of auxiliaries and defective verbs because they are very important in English language. Auxiliary verbs are divided into two categories: primary auxiliaries and modal auxiliaries. Primary auxiliaries are the forms of the verb be, have, and do. Primary auxiliaries help to form the tenses, questions, voice, negative, etc. When they are combined with the main verb, these auxiliaries can be used along and function as main verb. Modal auxiliaries are shall, should, will, would, can, could, may, might, must, dare, need, ought to, or used to. Modal auxiliaries are used along with main verbs. They are not used alone. Together with the main verbs that follow, the modal auxiliaries express the mode or manner of action denoted by the verbs. They express such ideas as ability, possibility, probability, permission, obligation or duty, etc. Difference between primary auxiliary and modal auxiliary. First point. The modal auxiliary does not change form according to the number or person of the subject, but the primary auxiliary does. Please go through these examples. Point 2. The modal auxiliary does not stand alone but always goes with a full verb. For example, and primary auxiliary may stand alone in a sentence and then it can be used as main verb. For example, point 3. Only the first form of the verb can be used after a modal auxiliary, whereas the forms of primary auxiliary do also take first form of the verb after them. There are some examples. Point 4. The forms of primary auxiliary be and have are followed by present participle and past participle respectively. For examples, note: if be or have is put after a modal auxiliary, the main verb can be put in its different forms. For example, correct use of some auxiliary and defective verbs. To understand the work of auxiliaries and modals, let us divide these verbs into 3 groups. Group 1: to be, to have, to do, used to, shall and will. Group 2: can, could, may, might, must, ought to. Group 3: dare and need. We will be continuing the details of groups in the next video. Thank you.